Cool. Oh, I love it. I love it. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm giggling over here because pre-show we were talking to our guest about doing hard things,
Yes.
and then we had a glitch we haven't had in 2 years,
You know,
technology wise. So I'm
hey,
like, okay,
yeah. And it's okay. I was thinking about episode 110 next week, and we just keep on hitting these little markers. And
Mhm.
through that, sometimes stuff happens, and I'm getting to the point where I don't even get upset. It's just okay. What do we do now? What's the next incremental step? I think about you and your incremental
Right?
steps.
We breathe and keep
Right?
going,
No, really.
right?
Gotta breathe.
And
Okay.
gratitude for being live.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
sometimes we take for granted the technology that just makes it so with one
Right?
button, right?
I remember the first time I went on StreamYard, it was not good. So for me to be on StreamYard for like 109 episodes is always a step in the growth and the look how far you've come, for me.
I love it. Should
Yeah,
we do our official intro and get this
let's
party
do it.
started? All
Let's
right,
do
let's
it.
do it.
Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling author, the founder of Shalo Glow, an all natural handmade personal products company that helps people with dry skin glow from head to toe. I'm a champion for your self care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gotro, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published Amazon bestselling author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we love to get together every week with special guests, our expert guests, for weekly intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do we do this?
Yes, that's what I was talking to the students at Agnes Scott about. Like, okay, this is physical wellness, right? This is Shalo Glow. Of course, we're talking about the different products, but here, you guys work on intellectual wellness, social wellness, and I know depending on the season, there are different things I feel like I need to work on. So you think you're really strong, and then you go somewhere else, and then you're like, oh, I need to go back over here and keep working on it.
Well, I like the resets. When
Hmm.
we like today's guest, I'm really thrilled about because
Yeah.
it brings up a lot of memories for me. And it brings up some goals that I have for myself. And
Mm.
I just, I don't know about everybody else listening, but I do like the way my life works is often I do really well for a while and then I pause or I'll set something down or I'll change
Yeah,
and I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to pick that back up. Or, oh,
definitely.
I really liked when I was doing that. And,
Yeah.
sometimes we just get out of habits or we get out of hobbies or things like that and we're on to something else. And it's like,
Yeah.
I like taking a moment to pause and reflect and go, okay, that served me in the past. Will it serve me today?
Mm. I love that question. And the right question
Yep.
is important. And that's also why I like looking at the goals. We talk about our goals every week, the goals for the quarter. And when you sit down, just like right now, right, the end of the quarter, sometimes you may have forgotten some things that, oh, I was supposed to be looking at that every week. So, like you said, do I want to keep it on or do I need to put something else on that serves me better and is more effective in this season?
Right? Because
Yeah.
we're talking about physical wellness today.
Yeah, we are.
You want to
Yeah,
give
we
our
are.
listeners a definition of what we're playing with today?
Yeah, let's do it. So, physical wellness is the ability to maintain a quality of life that allows you to thrive in your daily activities without undue fatigue or physical stress. Physical wellness recognizes that our daily choices, habits, and behaviors have an impact on our overall health, well being, and quality of life.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I think about going back and forth, right, at the beginning of COVID, I said, okay, we are going to stay on top of our health, right? We're going to be preventative instead of reactionary. And the best way I know how to do that is to run and work out. I didn't always used to run. I used to work out, right? Shout out to all that. I was in weight training in senior year in high school and I had band, of course, huge workout. And so shout out to all the weight training coaches and the football coaches who help the people work out. Because even after that, I worked at the gym and I would watch people do squats, and I'm like, mm-mm, they're not hitting their 90 degrees, or this person is putting too much weight on and not working out their whole body, you know? So for me to end up running was really interesting, but I actually had to stop. So I was running 4 days a week, and then I went back to work and was running up and down these stairs, and we would go up this hill, and my feet were like, this is not what we want to do right now. So I've had a good time picking it back up as we work on the businesses this year.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have been an athlete since I was very young because my dad was a football coach in Texas. And,
Mm,
that's just what you did is you
yeah.
got involved in sports. And when our guest gets here, I'll tell one of my origin stories for
Mhm.
running. But I I think about all the different things I've done over my life
Yeah.
and what my body likes to do and doesn't like to do. But one thing I know to be true that I haven't been hitting lately is
Mhm.
my body likes to work out twice in a day. And I don't know if
Mm,
that's from the two-a-days from growing
yeah.
up all those times, but I noticed like last Friday I did two workouts because I had a walk and talk
Probably
with a
did.
friend in the morning and then I had a hike with another walk and talk. Oh, we had three because we were guesting on the Mother Tree Network podcast and
Yes, we
they
were.
did a walking dance 15-minute thing
Yeah.
that both you and I were like, oh, we've already got our working in, we're not doing it, but it was so
Yeah.
infectious. We're like, oh, we're in, right?
Yeah, I was in. I was in. Yeah, I was. I was thinking
But
about it when we were dancing.
when I went to bed that night, I really noticed, like,
Mm,
oh, my body is so happy right now.
good.
And but that's that balance that and that juggle of like the current schedules we keep and how much time can we dedicate? How much
Right.
and what do we need for our physical wellness and the extra? So I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited to bring our guest on. Are you okay if I go ahead and read her
Absolutely.
bio and bring her up
Yes.
here? All right,
Please.
let's do it, y'all, because I want her in this conversation. I think it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
So today's guest, y'all, Beth Baker is a certified running coach that knows how bad running sucks
Mhm.
until it doesn't. After overcoming her own fear of running, she's gone on to personally coach over 2,500 non runners to run distances from 5K to marathons and get featured in Runner's World magazine. In addition to her passion for running, she loves taco, beer, and hosting her podcast, Why We Run. We want to
Mm.
welcome to the stage Beth Baker. Beth,
Welcome.
Hi. Hi. How's it going?
Good. Super excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely.
yeah, I just, for me, when I think about physical wellness, I mean, my physical wellness journey started when I can't remember if it was sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade. It was middle school back then. And I remember our track coach, she looked at me and she said, oh, you look like a long distance runner and go run 2 miles.
Oh boy.
And because I loved her, still, she was my best friend's mom and somebody I'd known since I was in fourth grade. I did it. And, at that time, I was skinny as a beanpole and I wasn't going to quit because she told me to do something. So I did it and I became a long distance runner that day.
I
So,
love
How difficult was it for you to run the 2 miles?
oh, I was tired. I was
it.
like, yeah. But I was also pretty stubborn. So like if somebody told me to do something, I just did it. And I was young. I mean, you think about what fifth or sixth grade is. What is that
Yeah. Age-wise, like
age?
11, 12?
Right? Like my
Yeah.
body was like, oh yeah, we got this. Let's do
Right.
it. I
Yeah.
You
mean,
got
I remember being hot and thirsty because it was in Texas.
oh boy.
And I remember the only time I truly hated it
Yeah.
was we had a track meet one time out in the middle. I can't even remember what town we were in the middle of nowhere, and there was a dead rabbit beside of the track, and I had to pass that rabbit 8 times, and that's the only
No.
time I hated running. I
Mm.
remember that. Like it was, I hadn't thought about it until right now, but I was like,
Wow.
oh, I hated
That
that.
makes sense. The noticing and the not judging. But yeah, you love animals.
Right?
You love nature, so that makes sense.
What about you, Beth? How did you get into running?
Oh boy. My dad, well, I just have to say my dad ran when he got home from work every day. So I had um that as a marker. But I didn't love it in high school. I was terrible at it, and my boyfriend at the time made me encouraged me to do track because my butt was getting quite big, and I know he was the worst. And so I did it, and I was terrible at it because I didn't want to really be there. And then I stopped, and then I was about 26, 27 years old, 26 years old, and I started running when I lived in San Francisco. And it took a whole year to do my first 5K. I just stopped and started. I had big boobs and no bad bras, and that was uncomfortable, and bad shoes, and everything. So I'm also stubborn. So I knew I really wanted to do it. I really wanted to do a marathon, which for some reason in my head was the that was the apex of what I wanted to complete. And I knew if I completed something which I was bad at before, I would be better about that kind of thing.
Yes. So I have a question for you, Beth. And if you
Yes.
feel like this is inappropriate, please by any means do not answer it. Okay. I
All
know
right.
we've been talking about body a little bit, like you
Oh
said. Now,
yeah.
with that being the reason that you started running, how do you feel about booties now? Do you feel
Oh my
better?
gosh.
Is it something that you still think about with your self image, or do you like it bigger? Like that's how it naturally is? How do you feel?
Man, I
I know
of
that's a
course
silly question.
no, it's complete because I live in Southern California where everybody looks exactly the same, or
Right.
they try to get plastic surgery to fit in.
Mhm, mhm.
And so I moved away from there, and saw all kinds of different bodies. I'm like, oh, that's what we're supposed to look like.
Yes.
And so yeah, but actually it was funny because when I after I had my son, I got really skinny just because of nursing and running a lot because I had my business, and
Yeah.
my butt went away, and I was like, where's my butt? I
Yeah.
was really sad about it.
I hear you. I always say I keep the rule, please don't lose that butt, right? You gotta
Oh
keep
my
moving
god,
that shit.
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
All right,
absolutely.
I have to jump in here on that question, Shannon, because there's
Okay.
two things that bubble up for me about that.
Mhm.
When I started dating Joe, he's a cyclist, and so cyclists have a certain booty, right?
Mm.
So, like, if you want certain booties, like cycling is one of the way to get them. The other thing is, I was at Jeju, which is our Korean
Love
spa
Jeju.
here in Gwinnett County, Georgia, the other day, and I passed a conversation in the locker room where
Mhm.
they were talking about different butts
Mhm.
because if you're at the spa and it's a traditional Korean spa, so everybody on the girl side is naked and
Mhm.
going into the and I just it's one of those conversations as you walk by you kind of catch it and they're
Yeah.
like, and it was a group of black women and they were like, yeah, and these white women's flat butts, like,
Mhm.
but
It's a
they're all
topic.
different sizes. And they
Yes.
weren't talking about it meanly, but it was like,
Mhm.
you were saying, Beth, like everybody, like you go to a spa like that, especially in Gwinnett County, Georgia, you're seeing all types of body shapes
Yeah,
because
Mhm.
all different races, ethnicities, ages. And
yeah.
it's just like, the only thing that I get when I go to the spa is I get a little bit of ink envy because of
Oh
the
yeah.
beautiful tattoos that I'm like, oh, I got to get with this. Come on
Mm.
now.
Right?
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And I just asked because it's really it's how we see ourselves in the mirror. It plays such a big part of a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And when you
Yeah.
said boyfriend, it's so interesting. I think about one of my exes and he said, you should write and run. And he was a basketball player. And also because of the type of relationship that we had, I did the opposite and I stopped writing in my journal and I was not running at all. And now to be an Amazon bestselling author and publisher and a runner is hilarious.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was 14 at the time, and you're just dumb and impressionable, and
Yes.
you just want to fit in, and
Yeah.
we weren't made to do that. So
No.
yes.
So what both of you ladies said that I'm really interested to get into, we'll talk about all the benefits of running and how like you work with your clients, Beth. Anybody, even if they haven't been a runner, can
Mm,
run. I
yeah,
want to start with the difficulties. And you ladies have some stories
yeah.
about like how this person was running a marathon and what it did to their bodies. Because I want to run a marathon, but I want to make sure that I do it in a healthy way. So I would love to hear more about those.
Well, I know because I do coach people to do, they start running with me and do a 5K, and then they kind of get the bug because usually it's a little hard at that first 3 miles. And when to get past those 3 miles, then it starts to become enjoyable because your fight or flight mechanisms are kind of turned down a little bit. And the endorphins, that lovely endorphin drug your body secretes, gets turned on. So people, that's when people start like really loving running. And then like for marathons, it's, I mean, it really is just keep running over a long period of time, and you're training your body and your mind to do the distance. So it takes like 6 to 7 months long from zero. Well, I mean, everybody's different too. I have to say that with everything. Everybody's different, of course. But it does take a long time for your body to get used to it and get strong enough. And it's all connected to your brain, because your brain's like, why are we doing this? I'm tired. It wants to quit
Yeah.
all the time. And it's just, it's mental and physical training. I mean, literally.
So you're saying that, and did you say dopamine is what's released?
Endorphins.
Endorphins, thank
Yes.
you, endorphins. And you said that those switch over at the 3 mile mark, at the
It,
5K mark?
everybody's different, but
Yeah,
for me, it was around 3 miles, and I've heard that from other people. But some people don't get it until 5 miles, and of course, it's like a drug. So the more you do it, the more you have to kind of chase the dragon, which is a
right.
heroin speak. And you just, it doesn't happen all the time, but you always are looking for that feeling, and it's
So
the
how do
great
you know
thing.
when it switches? How you say, "Oh, there it is." What does that look like for you?
Usually, if I'm running and I am listening to music, it always happens when I'm listening to music. I could just feel this overwhelming gratitude feeling, and it's just like someone poured love all over me. It just feels wonderful. And I mean, I've cried before. I've just
Mhm.
stopped and just thank everything that I got here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often, but it feels amazing when it does, and it's worth all the crappy runs. And all some runs aren't the greatest, but you always feel better when you're done.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it reminds me of kickboxing. I was
Mm.
kickboxing for 3 years. I did not lose the weight that I wanted to doing all this kickboxing. Mind you, I was not consistent. I wasn't eating right, right? And every time I felt like I'm going to die right here on this mat. I'm not gonna make it through this hour workout. But you always feel better on the other side.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
and so that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and of course, I always tell people, I'm like, I am not a weight loss person. If you want to lose weight, then do something else, because
Mhm.
it's I the benefits of running, like that's the like one of the last things I would say, and it doesn't happen
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So, Beth, when you are working with a new client who is nervous about running, or somebody who hasn't been running for a while and wants to restart, where do they start?
Oh
Mhm.
man, so I highly recommend just people picking up a habit about walking every day for 30 minutes. Just starting there, just so they can kind of create the space and the boundary in their life to have that for themselves. Because that's the biggest problem, especially with women, unfortunately, is that we put ourselves last on the list. So if you don't have a not, I wouldn't say strict, but a time for yourself, half an hour, then running won't come natural. It won't come to you, because you'll find excuses not to do it. So that's like the first thing. It's just like a 30-minute walk, and then you can just start sprinkling running into it, um, gingerly, over a couple weeks or whatever, and going really slow. That's the big thing, because people think they see runners and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so fast, and they want to do that, and then they don't know how long they've been running, or how long they have to run for that. And it's just a matter of going slow and getting those foundational muscles strong, and enjoying the ride, enjoying the lessons of it.
Do you have a recommendation for folks? Because I know in my own life, sometimes when I restart something
Mm,
or when I'm starting something, I have a tendency to do too much too
yes.
fast. And then I injure myself, or my body's like, oh, yeah, we can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
So I hear you say that about sprinkling it in
Yeah.
and going slow. Like, is there, I mean, I know everybody's different, everybody's body's different, and age and things like that, but is there a, like you say, oh, don't do more than that in a day?
Everyone's different. I
Right?
know,
I
but
know,
I
right?
I mean, like I love just like a couch to 5K schedule that you
Yeah.
can. I mean, just to follow the schedule. Start when you start feeling good. Of course, that's when you want to do more. But
Hmm.
just following a schedule and being not diligent, but just follow it without thinking.
Hmm.
Deliberate,
And
yeah.
yeah, totally, yeah.
And that's what I love about the 30 minutes a day.
Mm,
because what you just said, you can do it without thinking, right? I love
mm.
making things habits that you should
Yeah,
have
yeah,
in your repertoire to be preventative.
yeah.
And what I was working on with myself and the time schedule that I've been working through this quarter, being in the businesses, right, is what am I doing if I'm not running? Because the goal is to run 4 times a week because that's where I was at before, right? So I
Mhm.
would love to work out 4 days a week, would love to run. But if I'm not running, if I don't get out there, it makes it less likely for me to get out there when I'm trying to run. So
Yeah.
I think that even if I don't run, walking would
Yep.
be great. I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely. I mean, I tried to tie um, doing that to something you're already doing every day. Like, hopefully, we're all waking up in the morning. That's the
Yes.
goal, right?
Yeah.
And so, just waking up and walking out the door without thinking about it. And if running happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But
Yeah.
and back to you, Christine, too. Like, if you can do like every other day is kind of a nice way to
Mm,
incorporate running into your life. Yeah, it makes it easy. And
I
try
think
to
I like that.
keep the negotiables out because once there's a discussion and once there's an argument, then it doesn't happen for people.
Right?
Yeah,
Well, also the barriers, because I
yeah,
can tell you all the barriers I've put in
mm,
place. Like, oh,
yes,
I don't have the right shoes. Oh, I don't. So how, and all the things you hear in the media
mm,
and things like that, right?
yes,
That
right,
running is for the young, or running is this, or if you're certain weight, or if you're certain, like, it's not good for you, or it's not as good for you as walking. So what do you say to all that?
well,
All
a lot of
those.
yeah, well, okay, here so for that, um mostly that's made up old wives' tales and not true anymore. They just don't know. That's not a thing anymore. And there's so many representations now, especially on social media, that is not true. So not too long ago, they thought that women couldn't run because their uteruses were going to fall out. That is
I know
yeah,
people used to say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they, I mean, the Boston Marathon winner, Catherine Switzer, not winner, but first runner.
Mhm.
That's she's still alive and she still runs marathons. So it wasn't that long ago. So I mean, they don't. It's I can tell you, my knees have never never bother me, and I run a lot. And
Good.
it's
I'm
good
glad to
shoes.
know that it's not true.
Yeah, it's good shoes, and being smart about it. Going slow,
Yeah.
I think, is helpful. Yeah.
So I hear you on the good shoes, right? For
Mm,
me, I had two different types of shoes, right? I had these older pair of Adidas, and because they were right on the bottom, they've changed to the running shoes, right?
mm,
And one day I thought I could go out on a walk. I had these black and red shoes that I had for work when I was running up and down these stairs. I told you ladies at Top Golf. And the difference was that it had this little, you thought it was cute, right? This little hole under the heel.
yeah.
And then one of these little spiky little things, the little
Oh,
round spiky things got up under there. I said, "Ooh, these are not good running shoes. I need to
yeah.
make sure that any shoes I have are solid on the bottom." And then water is something I think like throughout the day, trying to make sure that I'm
Mm.
hydrated helps me run. What are other things that help you?
I make it like I tell people that I have to honestly do it myself. It's like there's three big things. It's like, uh, treat yourself like you're a toddler. So put out your clothes the night before. Make running dates and have a schedule. So you're not. I mean, honestly, so you're not thinking about it. You just like you should like look at your schedule. Like, oh, what am I doing today? Put it in your schedule so it is like you have a meeting or an appointment with somebody, and treat it like that.
And when you say running dates, you're talking about what Christine talks about and partnering with somebody to do
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
you, right?
Oh,
Gotcha.
absolutely, yeah.
That is
Yeah.
one of my number one strategies.
Because it's
Because
good.
if
Yeah, you could like talk and run and be outside.
No,
It's all
Beth,
the
I'm
things.
not talking and running at the
No,
same
so
time.
Shannon, here's the thing. You are the very, very popular listener. So
Yes,
you
got
should
you.
listen.
That's me.
And if you're running at a good pace,
Yeah.
you should be able to talk. So like just
Mm.
slowing down. Yeah,
I be
if you can,
trying to get it.
I know, get it done.
Okay. Slow
Well, I
down.
was
Got it.
telling y'all before the show about my best friend in high school. So
Yeah.
I ran from a very young age, and one of my best friends in high school, Wendy Wilkie,
Mm,
we were best friends because we ran cross country and track together. And I mean, we were best friends for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is we'd go on long runs together. So like we'd warm up with 2 miles. That would be our warm up
mm,
before we would start anything else. And I just remember how many runs I would listen because she was a faster runner than I, so I'd get her to talk so she'd slow down. It was one of my strategies, right? And I'd be the listener because if I'd start talking, I'd be like, so that made me think about that, Matthew, when you said that. The ever popular listener. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Please,
Yeah,
yes.
I just think about how many conversations, how many friendships,
Mm,
how many, and just the depth of relationship when you
mm,
go running with somebody,
Yeah.
or, you know, I know we're talking running today, but my husband and I love to cycle together too. And it's kind of
Oh,
the same thing. And it's like, it when you do hard things, you said this before the show, Beth, when you do hard things with somebody, it
it's a,
helps your relationship.
it's like
yeah.
it's another chemical that gets dumped into your body that is
Hmm.
Right.
it's a bonding chemical. Yeah. I would think about those like the Bachelor and the Bachelorette. I don't watch those shows personally.
Me either, Beth.
I mean, I've never watched those, but I've heard
Mhm.
that they put those people into those kind of situations of being scared together, and
Mhm.
that makes the love connection higher because of the. Isn't
Mhm.
that funny?
I think
Uh,
it's important
yeah,
because it shows you like how do we naturally respond to something that would put us off center and how did we do together? That's
yeah,
yeah. Okay, we
yeah,
did
yeah,
that well. You can go to the
yeah.
next challenge, right?
Right? It's so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think about that, I think about my husband and I when I was training for a triathlon. So, Beth, I trained for a triathlon for my 40th birthday. Because I told you ladies before the show, when I was 18, my best friend Wendy ran a marathon.
Mm.
And I just remember how her body was just a mess after she
Mm,
ran that
So,
marathon.
and that's what I wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me finish, and I
mm,
want to know why.
Right? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm even asking myself this question as I think, because
Mm.
I have my kids remembering of it, right? I was
right.
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
17. I don't think I was
Mm.
18 yet because I graduated when I was 17. And I just remember her being exhausted and limping. And so I don't know if she had an injury. I don't know if she was
Mm,
Okay.
wearing the wrong shoe. I don't know because we
Okay.
didn't have that call. We didn't converse about that like we're
Yeah.
doing right now. But
Hmm.
I remember at that moment making the decision that I never needed to run a marathon.
yeah.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, I'm good if I don't ever do that. So it's
Right.
never really been on my bucket list. My husband's run a marathon. I was like, you go. I mean, I was in his
Yeah.
cheerleading session. I was like, you go.
Yeah.
But I did want to run a triathlon. And so I was on that for a while. And I remember, I mean, I still, like, even as we're having this conversation, my body has this memory. We were doing a really long training ride one time. We were cycling and we were probably doing 50 miles or something like that, and I was going up a hill and I was starting to I was fading, right? And I remember my husband coming up beside me because he's a really good cyclist, and just putting his, like, don't try this at home, kids, especially if you haven't ever done this before. He came up, he rode up beside me and put his hand on my lower back and just gave me a gentle push up the hill while we were riding up the hill. And it was such a, I don't know, I want to cry thinking about it
Oh, I
because it
love
was
that.
such a, I was like, whew, I
Yeah.
was physically and mentally exhausted. And to have somebody that I love so much and trusted so much come along and just, you got this. And
Good
Mm,
it
job,
couldn't have
Jen.
been a big push because we're on bikes and we're going up a hill, but it was just that I'm with you,
mm,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Because you
and I
feel
Good
just,
alone
job,
in those
girl.
moments.
right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're
I,
powerful.
it's those things that, like, when you think about, I mean, it doesn't have to, I mean, of course, there's so many hard things. Running is not the hard thing. It's running is the hard thing that trains you for the other hard things in your life that you
Yeah.
do, but is running you do on purpose. So, um, anything that somebody dying or anything like that, I'm sure you know exactly those people that were next to you during those times
Hmm.
that were helpful, and that how you have that feeling that you attach to that situation and those people.
Absolutely.
So it's a thing, and of course, running just happens to be a social thing that you can do together, and it's when we got to like when for like anything harder, like when we do it, like everybody's heart is different at times, but people come back to me like years later going, oh my gosh, you cheered for me that one time, I'll never forget it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's your name? But it's just but it's so true because it was such a moment for them.
Yeah.
I think about when you say that, I think about, you know, anytime you do something like this, right? And you get that feeling of being
Mm,
cheered on, or
mm,
being, the other day, my neighbor is a long distance runner, and she was out on a long run, and I saw her miles away from the house, right? And she had her belt on, and I knew she was doing a training run. And I strolled up my window and I was like, woohoo, you got this. Da, da, da. I didn't even think about it because,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's what other people have done for me. And I was
Yeah.
just like, you got this. And I get this text from her, and she was like, I don't think you know how much that meant to me. Like,
That,
I was
yes.
exhausted
Yes.
in that
Yeah.
moment.
That
And
was
to
that
have
was your push.
you, right? And she
Yeah.
said, to have
Mhm.
you see me and
Yeah.
cheer me on. And yeah, and it's that power of being connected, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
connecting through, we've had the shared experience,
Mm,
or we've had the experience in our own bodies, and maybe it wasn't shared. Because,
mm,
I've never run with Shannon. I've
yeah.
never run
Mhm.
with you, Beth, but I can
Right.
imagine it because
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
run by myself and I've run with other people.
Yeah.
You just want to be seen. You don't want to feel alone.
Right?
Mm,
Yeah. When
Right?
I think about it, especially because I really started at the beginning of COVID, and this
yeah.
is a trigger warning for you ladies. I really thought about Ahmaud Arbery, right? And the
Oh, right.
freedom that we have. I said,
Oh,
this man was running down the street like I run down, and
yeah.
how many cars pass us, and
Oh,
somebody
girl.
sh- shot you. That's crazy for
Yeah.
me. There
Yeah.
was one day there was a protest in Atlanta. Again, this is at the beginning of COVID, right? And I had my I Can't Breathe Stop
Mm,
Police Brutality shirt on. We were at a store up the street. We had walked over there after we had ran, and this white woman said, did you just run by my house? Now,
mm,
how would I know where your house was? That was my first question, right? I
mm,
wasn't like,
Mhm.
I didn't go into all this other stuff. I was just like, how would I know where your house was? I didn't see you. You clearly saw me, right? And so I was like, no, we were running XYZ, whatever casual conversation. I'm going about my business. And she said, she saw my shirt. She said, were you at the protest? And I said, you just said that I was running past your house. So, based on the time that the protest was, you know that I wasn't there because you've seen me multiple places today,
mm,
even though this is the first time that I saw you. So especially being a Black woman in Atlanta,
yeah.
when I think about running, I think about getting ready for freedom, whether it's physical wellness and being
Mm,
proactive, or the difference of how people that see me run may have thought about that depending on the decade and the century
yeah.
that we're talking about. But like you said, Beth, it takes me back to overwhelming gratitude, right?
Yeah.
The gratitude of where we are, the gratitude that I have the physical wellness. I can choose to run or not run. I can get up out of bed in the morning and not have to have anybody's help. For me, that's a huge fire to keep running, being proactive, and putting myself in the best position possible to take care of whatever situation comes. And like you ladies are talking about, to surround ourselves with people who we run with, because I do run with my partner. And I
Yeah.
think about him being out there, and we go whether the other person goes, right? So if you're
Yeah.
going to run and Christine and I are on a business call or manifestation Monday, then you go take care of yourself. And sometimes he'll be working and I'll go do it too. But I love being able to do it together, like you guys
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my husband just started running, and he's in his 50s, and he just
Yeah.
stopped smoking. And I don't say a GD thing to him
Right.
because I'm the coach.
Yeah.
He comes back, and I'm like, how'd it go? He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I just don't say anything. But now I feel like he's trying really hard, and so we have a little bit of a shared compassion for each other.
I hear
Uh,
you.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's nice just to have that similarity. We have tons of other similarities, but that's nice to
Yeah.
have that. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially back to the uterus falling out thing.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
Right.
I was listening to Meghan Markle's podcast,
Uh,
Archetypes. I love it.
okay.
And she was talking about how the word hysteria comes from what they believed. It was actually in what is the it's like the dictionary for mental health disorders for psychology, the DSMR.
Okay. Oh,
I don't remember the name of it. Christine, you remember the
Well,
name
we're
of
at the
it?
DSM-5
Yes,
right
thank you, the
now. Yep.
DSM. So one of the versions of it categorized hysteria as when the uterus puts pressure on the other organs and it makes you crazy. And so I think that is very interesting, all these conclusions that we found and the consequences of having uteri, that we see now doesn't happen. I've never walked somewhere or ran somewhere and had that problem. That's part of the reason I'm so excited as women to be talking about running and
yeah.
it being great for you and doing it in community so that we can have a conversation with the truth and encouragement for us to be able to do it.
Yes, and the body that you have. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And like because I grew up in the 80s, and there was little well, there was white men
Yeah.
running, and my mom started running. She had big boobs, and she couldn't run because of her big boobs, and then on Runner's World, there was always white men. And then they get a white
Yeah.
woman, and
Mhm.
they're all young, unless it was a master's. But it was just you don't just see that representation, and you're kind of seeing it now. It could be a lot
Mm.
better, but they're trying just because.
Yeah.
But bigger bodies, smaller bodies, I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's just you got two legs and you can go forward. And yeah, 'cause my friend who I went to a trip with a couple weeks ago, she is a bigger woman, and she ran with next to her other bigger woman friend, and they were running.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she said, I have never gotten so many messages about that's bad for your knees. I'm like, they don't know. That's what they were told. It's the story that they were told from their grandmothers or mothers, and it's just that tape. And if
Yeah.
they took away that tape, who knows what they could be capable of? So that
Right.
it's not about
You're
Right.
putting things in front of you.
and you're
Those
trying to trim
limiting
out
beliefs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the limiting beliefs, and you're working to take the weight off so that your knees have less weight on them.
but
That
also
makes this is for my knees,
right,
for
right. But
running.
also you're
So,
walking around with the weight, so of course
yes.
you're just stronger.
Right. Stronger knees.
Right.
Stronger than yeah, stronger everything.
Yes.
I want to circle back around, Beth. I don't know that it needs to be said, but we are women connected in wisdom. So,
Yes.
one of the things I've always noticed with it being mostly white men in like long distance running,
Mhm.
marathon, now ultra running, and
Absolutely.
even like on the triathlon circuit,
Yeah,
right? Like I got to the Olympic distance, and everybody's like, "Are you going for are you going for the Iron?" I'm like, I don't have time
yeah,
to
yeah,
train for
yeah,
that. Like I maybe one day I would love to, but I'm raising kids. I'm
yeah.
working. I'm like, and I when you said that about your dad ran every day after work. And
Right.
I mean, my first thought was, well, he had the privilege to
Yeah.
do that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
and not to throw shade, but it's
No.
like when most of the time the women I know, when they're running, it's before everybody
Mhm.
else is awake or it's after everybody else is asleep.
Mhm.
Like it might be a lunchtime walk or run
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
people are at school or things like that. So I just want to
Mm.
name that because I want to
Yeah.
name that it is hard, y'all,
Yeah.
sometimes
It is hard, and that's why I say
make
like
that space.
right when I talk
Yes.
about doing the walking thing first, it's putting it in your schedule and making the boundaries with everybody else because
Yeah.
it's a couple of hard conversations, but it will save your life. And usually, yeah, like we've been told that we have to take care of everybody, but it's not true. I mean, it's for some people, of course, it's a total privilege thing to say, but if you can just ask for a teeny bit of help, one
Yeah.
spot or another, I bet it can get done in a
Yeah.
in a compassionate way.
And I like that you say that about putting yourself first, right?
Yeah,
And because what I know
it's
to
just
be
an
true,
entitlement thing too. I mean, of course,
it is,
I'm a white
right?
woman. Oh, yeah,
No, no, but that's what we believe in Women Connected in Wisdom, that if you don't put your own air mask,
right.
something's gonna
Yeah,
happen and you can't save anybody. So I
yeah.
don't think
Right?
it's entitlement the way that you
Okay.
said.
And I think it is one of those things that we are so taught not to do
Hmm.
as women in our
Selfish.
like
We're
we are
selfish.
just we're taught the opposite actually. What I know to be true is if I don't get my workout in the morning, it usually doesn't happen
Right.
because somebody's pulling my attention or things like
Hmm.
that. And like I stated at the beginning of the show, my body really likes to work out. So
Hmm.
even as I heard myself saying that, I'm like, all right, Christine, you got to schedule that evening walk. Like even
Yeah.
if it's not a full workout, because I will be honest here too. Like as much as my body loves it, like if I work out after a certain time, it wakes me up. It
Hmm.
does not calm me down. So I have to be careful on that end because then I'm not getting the sleep. All this stuff we have to juggle.
Yeah.
Where is the
Yeah.
perfect time to have that workout, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
When do
Child,
you run, Beth?
what's that?
When do you run?
I run. I drop my kid off at school and I go run. So it's 1, 2, 3. Wake up, take his kids to school, which you have to do. School board.
Right. Yeah, SC law.
Yeah. And then I go run right after that. And I have a couple times I meet with people. I have a trail running buddy on Fridays, and I have a friend that run on Thursdays. So I get to the socialization in there, but that's how I get it done.
Ooh,
What do
trail
you do?
running's my favorite. Sorry,
So what do
Shannon.
you No, you're fine. What do you ladies do if the person is late? Do you go ahead and
Oh,
run or do you wait for them?
it's I it's a boundary thing. So if you don't want to get it done, you'll pick people who are late and don't respect themselves and don't respect
Right?
Whoa,
you.
nailed it, Ben.
That's true.
Okay, so pay attention to who you're picking
Yeah,
as
Mhm.
your running
yeah.
buddy.
I always say punch up, punch up.
Oh, I
You know,
like that. Punch up.
yeah. Get
Yeah.
someone you're a little scared about, someone who's maybe a little faster, a little
Hmm.
stronger, been running a little longer. It
Mhm.
takes it seriously. Take it if you take it if
Mhm.
you take it seriously, if they take it seriously, you'll take it more seriously. It's
Yeah,
just
Hmm.
I love that.
mm.
So what about and you mentioned it earlier a little bit, all the benefits. What are the benefits that you usually share about running?
So if you can take away, I love just taking away health and weight loss, just off the top. I am more creative. I have better ideas. I am in nature and outside, so there's the fresh air and nature aspect of it. I get to see my city. I live in Seattle. I live in West Seattle, and so we live in a gorgeous place. I went to Patagonia a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, it looks like Seattle. It was like, mountains and water. And I'm like, yeah, we have that at home. Uh, and it's just all of the things that make life life. And I mean, no, it doesn't matter how fast or slow you go. It's just having that in my day. That's my day is part of that. And I get to check it off before I get home from dropping off my son.
Yes.
Mm.
And
You say
I'm also
that.
a better person. I'm sorry, Christine. I'm
Go.
also a better person. I'm a better person. Not to really say people who don't run or exercise are bad people, but for myself, I am a better version of
Well,
myself.
just that
Me
emotional
too.
and mental wellness,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yes.
and the social, like, you're working on all
All the
aspects of
things,
your
yeah.
wellness,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
I think about when you say that about senior city, Beth. One of the first runs I did in Atlanta after we moved here from Texas was one of the commercial ones. It was the hot chocolate run.
Mm-hmm.
But what I loved about it, I will never forget this moment because I live a little north of the city and I'd not done an in town run. And we did an in town, you could do a 5K or a 15K. I did the 5K that year. And we ran across the bridge where the Olympic rings were.
Oh
And it was
wow.
just such a cool, I'd never, like, I got to see Atlanta in a way that I never had
Yeah.
before. And there was some moments of awe. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, there's a new book about the science of awe that is out. And I think I've had a lot of those moments when I've been running
Yes. Yeah.
because I
It's that
see,
thing that I was telling you about. That.
right, the
Yeah.
endorphins. But I also think it's just seeing things I wouldn't see from a
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
right? Like, I love trail running and I love, like, being in the woods and nature, and, like, sometimes you see things you would never see
Yeah.
if you weren't out there running or hiking or.
I call it like when you're driving, it's 2D, and when you're running, it's 3D or 4D.
Mm.
It's like all encompassing the smells and the hearing birds and all the things. So you're fully
Yes.
immersed
Yes, yes.
and
And
sweating.
Beth, I wanted to hear more too about your trainer. You said that he had this story with running. Do you remember?
Oh, well, he is very elusive to it, but I think he had a hard childhood. And that's
Got
why
you.
he ran. And I'm like, like your imagination kind of fills in the rest. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. But I also like, I remember seeing a woman in her 60s running around. We have a spot that's really popular with runners over here in Seattle called Green Lake. And
Yeah.
this woman ran by and she was so fast and she has the most perfect form. And I stopped her and I go, because that's what I do. And I'm
Yes.
like, can I just tell you how beautiful your form is? And she's like almost started crying. She goes, thank you for saying that because I've been running since I was 11 years old because I had to. Like
Mm.
you could tell, like it was like there was a story behind it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that brings people. What I love about running is like there's a reason why people start running, and what they get out of it, and it's very personal. It's very impressioned on your heart. And
Yeah.
I mean, Shannon, you're talking about like when you started running for during the top of COVID. I
Yeah.
mean, that was probably like a survival thing for you to get out of the effing house
Yeah.
and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But it's it's very real for people, and I know for myself that I if I really get down to it, well, the reason I started really running is because my mom never did take care of herself. She had 4 kids under, which before she had 3 kids before she was 30 or 21, and then she had me when she was 30. But she had, had a hard life,
Yeah.
um, and she never took care of herself. And I'm like, I'm going to just flip that
Yes.
and just put myself first because again, I'm a better mom, I'm a better partner, I'm a better business person. I mean, just that,
Yes.
you just feel better, and that I can say that I'm not being. I mean, of course, I'm being selfish. If selfish isn't a bad word, so
Yeah.
I'm putting myself on top.
I hear you.
We talk about often, I want to say no, that it's not selfish, but because of all the things you listed, the benefits. And we always talk on this show, Beth, about self care in order to sustain community care.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
part about as a mom, as a wife, as a partner, just for yourself, like functioning in this world,
Mm.
like if taking that 30-minute hour run, 2 hour run makes you a better human, like, hello, we need better humans in the
Yeah,
world.
and even if it didn't, I think that we should do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be that we're going to be better people. It's just like if you enjoy doing it, then you should fucking do it.
Yeah.
Uh, it doesn't have to serve a means. It just if you love doing it, then do it. You know,
Yeah.
just
And
be
and I
happy
want to
with
give some
it.
more light to and tell me how you ladies feel about it. If it is in line with what you mean by better person, and we could talk about the wisdom in action because I know what I mean when I say that or when I think about it is it helps with my patience,
Mm.
right? I'm not as impatient. I'm not as let's say I'm calmer, right? Even going into situations, whether they're good or bad, whatever it is, I probably sleep better that day. And so because I sleep better, my attitude is even better. And it just overflows into these other things. We usually talk about the other 8 dimensions, but it's really like the way those dimensions show up in situations, I can address them better. Is that what you mean when
Mm.
you say it?
For me, I think so. I mean, me or Christine, but I think yes, all of the things. Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I would
Yes.
say
I see
yes
that.
to all of
Yes.
those.
Love
And
Yeah.
it.
also too, like being a part, like you two are community leaders and you're
Yes.
with this, and if people are looking to you as a leader and you take care of yourself in in this kind of whatever way it is, they're like, okay, that's noted. It's like when I
Yeah.
heard like everyone's talking about meditation and all of these people who I admire to meditate, I'm like, well, I better start meditating
Yeah.
because they got
Yeah.
something that that I wanted. So.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna add in order to do. Oh, and maybe that's my my hashtag wisdom in action. I'm gonna add the meditation. I heard somebody say it might have been Fifi from last week, Christine. She said that it might have been somebody else. I like to quote the right person that meditation is being present with your breath. And that's something
Hmm.
that I'm really intentional about when I'm breathing, right? So I'll say add meditation.
Well, and I want to say, to me, running is often a running meditation. Like to me, running is
Mm,
meditative. If I'm not talking with somebody, if I'm doing, because
yes.
we talked about doing it social, but you can do it alone. Like
Mhm.
what meditation doesn't have to be just sitting still. Like it
Right.
can be walking or running. And I know
Mm,
I've been in that loop before when I've been on a long run. It's been years.
yeah.
I'll be honest about that. But where you get into that stride and you are just you're in the zone,
Yes.
Yeah.
you're in that place. And I think that's a form of meditation. So yes,
Hmm.
Shannon, I'm all for meditating. It's my
Yes.
jam.
Yes.
And I think if you're running, you may be doing some of that already and
Yeah.
just focusing on your breath and doing that.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
and making it 30 minutes because we usually run
or
shorter than that. We
yeah,
don't even measure it. We actually intentionally switch it up. So we go different ways and make it interesting. But I think being intentional about it will be good.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's
What
just
were you
and it
gonna
also
say?
I just think it's not. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to
Yeah.
do everything. You just have to
Right.
do the best when you can.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, Beth, what about for you? What would you? So, at the end of every show, we always do a hashtag wisdom in action from
Okay.
the conversation. So, if
Mm.
you had to hashtag, what is your wisdom in action for this week? What
For
would you do
physical wellness.
for
For
physical?
myself,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I am doing a lot of things lately. So my word is rest.
Yes.
When I
Mm.
can. So I always think about I said I've said this analogy 1,000 times, and so people are But I used to be a surfer. And when I was a kid in Southern California with my big butt, no, just kidding. And when you go out surfing, you go out and you get your ass kicked basically because
Mm,
your waves are coming at you and you're basically just going against the current. Waves
yeah.
are falling on top of you. Once you get out to past the break, you rest and you
Mm,
relax and you wait for your wave and you kind of ride the swell and just calm down and then you look for your wave, which is what is your opportunity,
yes.
whatever you want to say.
Yes.
You ride that wave in. You either get your ass kicked again by falling off, or you ride it in and everything's wonderful. And then you sit back on the car. You can either relax again and sit on the shore and watch the waves, or go right back out. And I love that metaphor because there's so much rest involved in all of the action
The different steps.
because you're getting your ass kicked, you're putting yourself out there, you're having fun or you're falling. You just need to like take a break, and we're so media and I mean everything running and everything like that. It's just like go 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 go. You just need to like take a break and relax.
Yes.
Mm. Okay, so you just gave me my hashtag. I think
Mm,
my hashtag is going to be relax into running.
Mm,
Because
I like
I've
that.
been walking a lot, and I just haven't. Usually when I start back into running, I do what you said. I walk, and then I'll just add a little, sprinkle a little
Yeah.
running here and there. So I'm going, but I get in my head about it, and
Mm.
because I ran for so many years, I do that. Oh, if you're not doing this, you should.
mm.
Comparison. The
I'm
comparison trap.
just gonna relax into running.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it.
So I think that's because I miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I nobody shocked listening that's listened to any of our podcasts will be shocked when I say this. One of the things I love about running is I get my workout done quicker.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's what I was just saying. It doesn't even take a whole 30 minutes. So I'm gonna add some stuff, add some time. I like it. Oh, Beth,
Especially.
I do have another question for you
Yeah.
before you go. What is a perfect form? I like leave
Oh.
my hands open for the aerodynamics and I just kind of like throw it behind me. Is that
Yeah.
correct? What would you
That is
say? I feel like I saw that somewhere.
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think about putting out your boobs as far as they can
Mhm.
go, so you get your oxygen tanks full as much as possible. And as women, we like to sometimes collapse
Curl
into
in.
ourselves,
Yeah.
go in the fetal position because you're driving or at an
Mhm.
office. So actually, just pulling out your shoulders as much as they can to get that breath in. And yeah, your arms go side back and forth like that, but they
Yeah.
don't cross in front of you. I call these people
Right.
pirates.
Yes.
So back and forth and just everything should be relaxed above your waist. So nothing too crazy
Yes.
arm wise unless you're sprinting or going up a hill. So it
Okay.
just should just be along for the ride. And
How
every,
would you how would you feel about wrist weights? Would that make it so that it's not as relaxed as it should be? I was thinking about, or is that doing the most?
yeah, I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
I don't know. Yeah.
I like to maximize the
Yes,
effectiveness.
she does. I mean, Shannon, this is where I'm
Yes.
going to call you out being 29, my friend. I love you so much, but like, give yourself a break.
Ah,
It
it's
also makes
okay.
me think of the 80s. Do you remember, Beth,
Yeah,
when
that's what I
the
think about
ankle
the
weights?
ankle weights. Yeah,
The
yeah,
Yeah.
ankle,
no.
like,
I will put them
forget
around my
about
wrist.
it.
Yeah.
No, be gentle with yourself. Relax into
That's
Okay.
running.
I feel like that is definitely an age thing where
Okay.
you're easy nicer to yourself. But I think yeah.
Got it. Got it. No
So,
problem.
Beth, where can our listeners find you if
Mhm.
they are looking for a running coach? And tell us first of all, we should have asked this at the top of the hour. I'm sorry, we're getting to the end, but what is a running coach, and what do you do for your clients?
I do all kinds of things. We actually have a in-person group if you live in Seattle called Running Evolution. Um, and we have group runs during the COVID. We did virtual Couch to 5K classes, which were super fun. But people really don't want that anymore because it's people just want to be in person now.
And it's also spring. I don't know if it's spring in Seattle. It's spring in Georgia. So
It
we
is,
are
yeah,
like, let us outside.
yes, exactly. And then, but I do have yeah, you can find me, like I said, on Instagram, which has all of my things in the link tree,
Cool.
and that's Running Evolve, not because they don't take Running Evolution, so it's Running Evolve. And then my website happens to be down right now, but I do have a class selection which has a DIY Couch to 5K class or Couch to 5K course. That's 6 weeks long, and it's runningevolution.vipmembervault.com. And I'll send you that link. And I'm happy to give that to you for free, Christine, if you want to get a little jump start, because it
Heck
is,
yeah.
yeah, it really is. It's just helpful for like yeah, it's just a jump start.
I would love that. And we are going to put your link tree and we're going to put all the ways that our listeners can find you. And we will put your website, even if it's down at the moment, we know it'll be back up. So we'll put that in the show notes. And this has been such a fun, I'm inspired. I hope
Yes.
our listeners are too, but I really am like, yeah, like I do love this. And why am I not doing it more regularly?
Yeah,
So.
it's again, it's not all or nothing, and it's anything you do for yourself. It's not running; it's just moving. Just move your freaking body. That's
Yes.
all it is. Yeah, if you can. Yeah,
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And not take that for granted. Boy,
right.
every year I get older, I'm like, yeah, don't take that for granted. Like,
Right.
and like you said, I mean, people run into all ages. Like
Yeah.
that is one side note, and then we'll go, y'all. This has been my plan for years, so um, the Senior Olympics. I figured this is my moment,
Those
right?
people are fast, though. I can't tell
Right?
you. Oh,
I've trained with some of not the runners, but the cyclist. I think is
Mhm.
where like I think
okay.
that's I've trained with some of them, and I'm like, all right. And the trick is you just keep going
Yeah.
Mhm.
because eventually you're going to be the only one standing or running or biking. So the trick is
That's a good
just to
point.
keep moving.
Mhm.
True, right?
Last man standing.
Right?
Right.
Last
Yeah.
woman standing.
Yeah.
Hey.
Right.
Beth, thank you so much. This has been
Thank you
such an
guys so
awesome
much.
You're
conversation.
welcome.
You
And we're
guys are
so
delightful.
delighted to be connected to you and we
Yes.
look forward to more.
I love
So
it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and
thank
yeah,
you.
You're
have a
welcome.
great day.
You
Thank you
too.
so much. You too.
So
So
fun.
good. Yes.
Right? I'm like I have the nibblings today, or I'd be like going out for a run tonight. I don't of
Right?
course I mean maybe we could do it together. I mean, but chasing 3-year-olds, I've been kind of doing it all day.
Yeah,
So
that's true. You've already been running, right?
right? Just in a different way. Oh, this
Yeah.
was so good. I know we are out of time. Is there anything else you want to add before we take off?
Yes, so you guys have been asking for it. I know that you've been loving Volume 1. We've seen all the reviews, all the people from all over the world telling us how much they've enjoyed the stories that we've shared. And we're about to come out with the audiobook. So if you're ready for it, if you're looking for it, make sure to go to Women Connected. Ooh, little dance break. Women Connected in Wisdom.com so that you can get the latest updates for when we drop it because it'll be soon. So, yes, looking forward to that.
So delighted.
Yes. Yes. Join us next week live at 5 for do we have another episode or is next week the wrap? I think we have one more episode.
Yep.
One more. So join us next week live for episode 110. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll see you soon. Peace.